Hey, it's Paula Hines Lonergan, and I very recently mentioned, not brief and not at length, in a very public setting that I was one abused, molested by my uncle, from age whatever I said, 5 to 13, which I don't, I have a feeling it started earlier than that, but that's neither here nor there now. But that is what happened. And my reason for mentioning that is because, and I mentioned this kind of in my comment that, what is it? One out of four or 1 out of 3 women have been molested. And more than likely have not spoken up about it, and that affects how they are, um, who they are and how they view life. That was my purpose in bringing it up because, um, when I'm in groups and I look around and I think, okay, 1 out of 3, or what, we'll just do, we'll say 1 out of 4. We'll just say 1 out of 4, and it's like, okay, I'm one. In a group of 50, who are the others? you know. Um, and in dealing with my own healing, I've become, kind of more sensitive to the fact that I'm not alone, in having to have dealt with that as a child. And that there's so many out there, and so many whose situations, adult situations, may have mimicked mine, or may be very different, or in any way, the results or the effects kind of are the same, whether a person has acknowledged it or not. In the book, The Courage to Heal, there's a chapter called Effects, Recognizing the Damage. And I'm reading here, so excuse me for not looking, but it says here, this is Jenny Rose Lavender, and she says, "People have said to me, 'Why are you dragging this up now? Why? Why?'" And it's funny because after I very publicly, made the statement about my own abuse, I thought to myself, I wonder how many people are saying, "Why would you say something like that? Why would you drag that up? Why would you even mention it?" You know? And later, a couple of people said, "Wow, that was courageous. You're saying that." And I said, to the people that mentioned that, a year ago, I could have never said, a year ago, I could not have made these videos. A year ago, I could not have said publicly that this was my experience as a child. You know, Too much shame, too much silence. You don't talk about bad things. You don't, you just shh, hush, hush, be good, be the good girl, don't cry, don't speak up, you know. That's where I was. Now I don't care. And the fact that I know in any given situation or place that I'm in, there's so many women who had the same experience, and so many young girls who will have that same experience, I'm not shutting up. But back to the book. It says, Jenny Rose Lavender says, when people said to her, "Why are you bringing this up?" She says, "Because it has controlled every facet of my life. It has damaged me in every way possible. It has destroyed everything in my life that has been of value. It has prevented me from living a comfortable emotional life. Sorry, excuse me. It has prevented me from being able to love clearly. It took my children away from me. I haven't been able to succeed in the world. If I had a comfortable childhood, I could be doing anything today. I know that everything I don't deal with now is one more burden I have to carry for the rest of my life. I don't care if it happened 500 years ago. It influenced me all the time. It influenced me all the time, and it does matter. That matters very much." End quote. Jenny Rose Lavender. As a victim, as a survivor of sexual abuse, you have the right to speak up, and people won't understand. There will be women that have been abused themselves that are like, "Oh my goodness, she said it. Shoo, why does she do that? You know, and that's cool. Everybody's at their own stage, but it's interesting because of my own background and my own experiences and the way I have been affected by my views as well as not affected. you know, um, I can sometimes um, be in a room of women and be able to pick out who the one out of the four is, and that's, it has to do with a little bit of, because of my abuse, I have a hyper vigilance, but as well as kind of being able to identify the effects that the abuse has had on me and the typical effects abuse have on people, on women, and I'm able to spot it. Now it's interesting because up until my 40s, I never talked about my abuse. And I think there would have been very little indication that, you know, my abuse had happened, and I wonder if there's anybody that knew me up until age 42 that would have been able to identify, clearly, oh, you know what? I think she had a little trauma somewhere along the line. It's neither here nor there now, and even like I said, after I talked about my abuse to my family, I still didn't talk about it publicly. I did not have that level, of courage. And I do it now, like I said, for my sake, for other people's sakes, and for the children and for the girls, you know. Um, but I guess my point, mainly in all of this is that, there's such a stigma, you know, about silence and shame, and and even, if it was your experience, you don't need to talk about it. But you know what? It's your life. I mean, the whole point of like a person going to AA, I haven't been to AA, but in the people that I've spoken with, they go in and say their name, and I am an alcoholic. This is my experience. You know, a person goes to NA, Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I I am ABC, and this is who I am. This is my experience. It's coming basically out of the closet. It's being open, about it. That's part of the healing, And now, granted, when you're in like that type of group, it's, few people, and there's a for, hopefully, trust that's developed and confidentiality, etc. But, I mean, but it's like when it comes to sexual abuse, it's like, shh, you know, no, don't say, don't speak, But I just observed that that silence has benefited no one, And I can see people and in their lives and how, maybe they've developed an aura of containment, and in that containment, the trauma and abuse that they may have suffered, okay, it's like, okay, the rain's going to come, but I got my rain suit on, so nothing's going to touch me. They're so contained, or it may be someone that's so, out there, and I'm not out there crazy or anything, but out there as far as their lifestyle, drinking or drugs or sleeping around or whatever, I mean, so they're, on that extreme, trying to cope with, the abuse, or hide from it, or somehow suppress it, Anyway, there's so many ways that abuse, can help you. And that in the book, The Courage to Heal by Ellen Bass and Laura Davis, in that effects chapter, it deals with all the effects emotionally, mentally, physically, all the ways that a person is affected by abuse, and if a person chooses not to speak, that's their option too. That's their prerogative, But if a person does choose to speak, respect that. Respect that, that a person does not have to be silent, you know. And, you don't have to tell the world, but it's the person's prerogative, you know. There's so much heaviness that comes with the silence, with the containment, and generally for most people, it starts to leak out. I've mentioned this in a video before. Lady was 60 years old in the bathroom crying because all of a sudden she remembered her abuse, you know. So it's like better personally to be forward and upfront. I mean, I wish that at 19 I had the courage to heal and opposed to sucking it back in, acting like it didn't happen, pretending, I'm fine. I mean, granted, 19 to 42, good life, traveled. Fortunately, I picked a good husband, and stuff, but I can look to see how I was not unscathed, by it. And the sooner you heal and work on the healing, I just feel the better off you are. My thoughts, but just one little person. I'm Paula Hines Lonergan, and time's up for me to be silent. Time's up for silence at gmail.com is my email address, or send me a note. I'm learning to say this now. Let me see. It's like, share, and sign up to my YouTube channel. Okay. All right. Let's continue the healing.